Good morning, everybody. This is Michael Torres. I'm going to give you my iOS 5, just sort of quick impressions. I just finally got everything installed yesterday. I mean, it was released yesterday. So why you should listen to my review? Well, as you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, I do research. That's my bench. So I'm a scientist in training. So, um, you know, I guess that means that I'm sort of above the average. Never mind. Let's just forget that whole part. That's kind of goofy, anyways. Okay, iOS 5. Let's get straight to it. Easiest way is, people were having problems yesterday. So if you have a Mac or a PC, I think you have to have iTunes updated. There was a Lion update as well. If you have that, that all had to be taken care of before you could even download the iOS 5. So once you did, you may have had problems downloading and installing because the servers were being hammered pretty hard. So what I had suggested to do was to go ahead and just do the download only first and not download and update, so you can get it on your computer and then you can update it at whatever time you want. And it takes a while because it essentially like restores your phone and then resyncs it. So there's a few steps in there that you may, if you have a password, need to type that in order to get your restore going. So just keep that in mind. So once you get it on, you'll get up a welcome screen on your phone. It has you set up iCloud, and iCloud is essentially Apple's version of a cloud service, which is, in another sense, basically just an off-site storage unit that is, on a computer or a bunch of servers somewhere, I think in North Carolina, and that'll hold all your information that you can share between your devices. And it's really neat, and it's pretty simple to set up. So you just go through it with an Apple ID, and so if you have an Apple ID that you use for buying iTunes products or Apple App Store products, I would go ahead and not use that one for iCloud. So, like for instance, my wife and I, we share an Apple ID for buying purchases, so we can get them on all of our devices. However, for new cloud apps, iCloud apps, and like the Find My Friends and Find My iPhone, it's better for her to have her own Mac ID or Apple ID, excuse me, for those types of things. But when in the store, use our same shared Apple ID so that we can make purchases and keep them on both devices. So that would be my recommendation: is to anything except for buying stuff, to have a separate Apple ID and use that. So that is basically your address for things like iMessage and things like Find My Friends and such like that. So you'll go through that, set that up. Another recommendation I would have is to go ahead and back up still to your computer. I tried to back up to the cloud, and then I didn't get a complete backup, and then my phone tried to restore, and it was restoring from the backup on the cloud, but the cloud backup wasn't complete, so it wouldn't do it, and it was a big mess. So I would just go ahead and suggest, at least for now, to go ahead and just back up to your computer. And you'll see these things in the welcome sign when you do that. So if you haven't done that, I would probably go ahead and switch back to that just for ease of sake. So there you go. What now we're looking at is, go ahead and pull up my phone, and you can see some of the differences. You have Newsstand, which is essentially a magazine aggregator. You can have all your magazines in one app. Then I guess the neatest thing is the notification. So I'll try to pull that down. So you pull that down, the notification will pull up your calendar. You can set it up for mail. You can have your stock ticker down there if you want to see what's going on, and the weather. And the weather is really nice because the weather now will it will go by location if you set it up to do it. And so wherever you're at, what city, it'll look for that city and then give you the weather for that. Another thing real quick is when you actually tap it, and now the weather app is updated, where now it'll give you by the hour, which is really cool because it used to not do that at all. So I like that a lot. So I'll go back to the notifications, and so all these things for the notification center is in the settings. So if you go ahead and go to settings, you know, you can click on that and go to notifications, and here you can set up, well, I think the glare might be too much, but here you can set up, at where things, how they pop up on the notifications, and this is a way to sort of keep your there, that's a little better. Keep your stuff organized, and so it's really neat. I really like it. I think it's really cool, and you can, then one thing I really like is the mail. It'll show your mail, but the problem is that you can't specify mailbox. So hopefully they'll be able to update that where you can specify the mailbox, and then Val and I, my wife, we have a shared mailbox, and I have my own personal, and then I have my own work, and it just shows them all that way. And I'd prefer maybe just the work, or maybe my personal, or hopefully they'll address that. But that's a really cool thing. Now you can set up your messages also, and there's a thing called iMessage, and what iMessage does is essentially it's like a sort of iPhone only secure service that's free for sending messages. So if someone else has an iPhone that has iOS5, then or an iPod Touch or an iPad or any device really, then they can send messages for free with each other, and so some people could maybe use it to get rid of a text plan or something like that. So that's pretty cool, and what you'll see is in the text box it'll say iMessage instead of text message, so you're sending an iMessage and not a text message that way. And you can also set it where it only sends messages through iMessage, so you don't use your text plan as part of that. So maybe it could be a way to save some money. I'm not sure yet. The camera has a really neat feature now where you can go ahead and press the plus button. So if you were in landscape mode, something like this, you can press the plus button on the side and it'll snap a picture. Just another way to do it. And so the other thing now too with iCloud is you can save to PhotoStream. So what PhotoStream will do, and that's in your settings again, what it will do, so you see in the settings in the photo, it'll ask you about PhotoStream, and what that will do is that'll place any photo that you take into the cloud, and that's accessible on all devices, like your iPads, or if you have another phone, or on your Mac too. If you go to iCloud.com, you can access all that stuff with your Apple ID. And again, that's why it's important to have your own ID for that. And so the only problem with that is you can't delete those photos. So I mean, better be careful what you put, what you snap, all you celebrities and whatever, right to the cloud. So keep that in mind. I mean, there's a few other tweaks in here. The Find My Friends is a cool little app between iPhones, and this is good for your close friends or your significant others. I know there's this stalking sort of thing, but I mean, if you're open, then I think it shouldn't really matter, I mean, and so here I can look, and like my wife, she can look and see where I'm at, and boom, now I know, where she's at. I don't really use it for stalking, but I mean, she is my wife. But anyways, if you want to say, hey, come check me out, I'm over here, it's a simple thing, all your friends know, and you can turn it off and on, and so it's not like it'll broadcast 24/7. You can make it temporary, or you can go off the grid for a little while and stuff. But just another way to be social. Another really neat feature that it's not on the iPhone, but if you have an iPad too, you can do the mirroring now with iOS5 and the newest update to Apple TV 2 if you have the second generation one. That's really cool, because that'll essentially just give you the exact picture what you see on your iPad onto your screen. And if you see that little notification that had come up, had I tapped on it, that would go ahead and open up that app automatically. So now when you're playing a game or you're doing something else, you're not interrupted by the old style notification system. So I think those are the main things that I sort of stood out to me the most. You can have Wi-Fi syncing now, and you can turn that on. If you're on the same network, then you can turn that on somewhere. I forgot where that. Oh yeah, it's here in the general. You go, you'll see it says iTunes Wi-Fi sync, and so you can just click on that. And if you're on the same network and plugged in, you can go ahead and click sync now, and it'll sync your phone that way. So, all right, you guys have any other questions? Just let me know. I'm always here to just play around. All right, thanks.